Hi folks, you're at Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about something that took me by surprise, was a well-known and quite leftist media organisation. Every day they've got numerous hit pieces on Trump and all that sort of stuff, and they're very, very pro-mass migration. And yet they came out with a piece, a feature piece no less, that talked about how mass migration was controlled by three primary lobbies and sort of activist groups, if you like. And these were the property lobby. They've obviously made gazillions upon gazillions from mass migration. These are the guys that get commissioned to build the big tower blocks of apartments that are so favoured by Indians and Chinese and so on, who are the main two sources of migration to Australia. And they've made profits beyond obscene, whilst at the same time reducing the standard and quality of the stuff they're building. So their profits are just, it's supernormal profits, doesn't even begin to describe it. So there's the property lobby. The next, and even with that, by the way, they're still struggling, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But the next lobby is the educational lobby. The educational institutions, particularly the tertiary ones, and sort of specialist colleges and things like that, they rely almost 100% on foreign students and foreign student fees. So, and they've created this massive cost structure. If you look at the amount of employees that were employed in, say, the amount of employees per student that were employed, say, in 1975, going back 50 years, you look at the amount of employees at a university, and the rate of employment's gone up by thousands of percent. What do all these people do? Nobody knows, but there's now a massive employment base, including massive patronage networks, NGO networks being given jobs, and all sorts of activism, globalist type activism in the university. So they've built this huge cost base, which can only be sustained. They're like junkies needing another fix. Can only be sustained by masses of overseas students and the adverts that the universities pitch. I haven't seen a white person in an Australian university advert for goodness knows how long. Everything is pitched at black and brown and Asian people. So that they rely heavily on, and again, mass migration or student visas, as well as mass migration in the overall mix. Now, also and this is particularly pernicious, the education lobby wants students to get a student visa and the right to work in Australia at the same time. So they're not just lobbying for students, they're lobbying for work permits to be tied and coupled with a student visa. So they're very intense on lobbying for that as well. And that really does alter the makeup of work and employment and wages and so on in Australia. But again, they're only looking at their sort of little ideological bubble. If there's upstream and downstream consequences that others have to bear, they don't care about that. And some of the salaries being paid to the senior administrators in the university, they've gone up, 10 plus times over the last 20 years. So it's a very well paid, very prestigious job in the university sector, to be a president of the university, or a dean, or a deputy president, or something like that. Lot of money and benefits involved, lavish vacations, all sorts of things like that, and also for various other senior administrators or faculty. Now, the third area is the mass employees, like the big national retail chains. That could be like grocery, supermarket stores, things like that. Now they employ a lot of people. Many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in the case of the biggest chains, and they want to alter work conditions and benefits to employees that make the working there quite unattractive for many people. And so in order to fill unattractive jobs, then they want a large supply, a large surplus of labour to get these jobs. Also, the big retail chains work hand in glove with activist groups to say that there's a lot of people in an area. A lot of I don't know. Indians move into an area, for example. Then these retail chains are under a lot of pressure to hire a lot of those Indians into the stores and to displace any white people that are in there. So there are also other sort of knock on and again up and downstream sort of factors. But effectively the industrial relations employment laws that used to exist that protected workers from what we could say is exploitation around convenience of working hours, shifts, and the amount of notice a worker needs to get for a change in their work roster. All these, that's changed a lot over the years, and a lot of people find this very difficult. But Indians or Chinese that are living 20 to a one-bedroom apartment, they will tolerate those sorts of things because the place they come from, having any job at all, was a novelty. So they're prepared to look at things very differently. And it's because of that, these retail chains have been able to put the squeeze on effectively the employment to the employee in order to realise harder profits, but bigger profits. Now, there's one thing in business I sort of noticed. There were businesses that were able to actually solve problems and of which everyone sort of could benefit, or businesses that wanted to move a problem around. And this is what's happened in the economy, all Western economies, and it's been ushered in or underwritten, if you like, by mass migration. So instead of seeking productivities through better training or better organisation, better structure, better management, what all the big retail chains, all the property developers, or any of these people involved in this, what they've done is they've just moved the problem around. So the beneficiaries have the number of beneficiaries has declined, but the problems they've created are just pushed onto other areas, onto other people. For example, lowering educational standards has been the price we've paid for the new mass migration education system, the new woke education system. Well, what we'll do, rather than maintain education, we'll just lower the standards and keep on lowering them until we achieve effectively the ideological outcome we want. So even though more money has come into the education sector, it has been a direct expense of the quality and rigor of education. For example, if a wealthy Chinese, and they're open about this, by the way, they don't mince words, a wealthy Indian or Chinese student who's paying $200,000 a year for I don't know, like a PhD course or something like that, then, but they want to have a good time, they want to party, they want to, do all sorts of things like that. They don't want to study. I'm not going to hit the fucking books. Gee, what do you think? I'm a Brahmin. You don't judge me, I judge you. And so these demigod kids arrive, and they're quite open. You will pass me. Not only will you give me a pass, you will give me a top-rated graded pass on my test. Or essay or whatever, you'll give me the top rate, or I'll just take my fucking money elsewhere and go to Canada or America or somewhere else that will give me what I want. So give me that fucking damn degree or damn MBA or whatever it might be, or I'm out of here and my money goes with me. So the universities now are quite open about it. No, look, this is a fee-paying student. They're stumping up the big bucks, and we're just going to give them whatever they want. So standards have just gone out the window, and that's the price we've paid. So it's not that there are high standards and rigorous standards and people have to meet the standard. No, it's gone reverse. We want your money, so we will lower the standards. Same for local students coming. Students with an IQ of -5 million are being waved through into university because they're a green-haired lesbian or something like that. And again, when there's mass migration, there's a lot of people from the third world that come in, and children of the third world. They're entitled to have equal outcomes with the local white kids. So we have to let them into university. We have to give them a degree that they haven't earned or haven't worked for or could never have got in any sort of objective merit-based world. So that's the price we've paid in education, an incredible decline in educational standards. Now, the same goes for work, working conditions. There are now they can employ somebody for 4 hours in like a grocery store, retail chain, 4 hours, then they get 4 hours off, then they have to come back for 4 hours, this sort of thing. Now, that didn't used to be allowed. You couldn't do that, but now you can. And so people are being, local white people are being told, no, you've only got 20 hours of work a week. And then half the people, or more than half, or most of the people employed are brown or black or Asian or whatever. But the point is that the standards of working conditions, wages, purchasing power of wages, the working conditions, the rostering, the treatment of, the investment in these employees has gone way down. And so while the national retail chains are realizing higher profits, it's at the expense of moving costs and problems around. So they've just moved the problems out. And it's okay, the employees can wear the cost of this through like poor working conditions and so on. The employees can wear the cost of this. So we realize higher profits. So but to do that, to get away with that, they must have a large surplus of labor floating around that they can pick and choose. If you'll put up with the roster, we'll take you, rather than the quality of the individual, the quality of the work that they do. So that now in the property development area, a couple of things have happened in property. One, if you've got mass arrivals of people, offshore, wealthy offshore Chinese and Indian and whoever, anyone who's got a buck in their pocket, come and buy real estate in Australia, and they do so. Entire suburbs are owned by offshore Chinese Communist Party goon investors. It's that bad here, and this has artificially pumped up the price of real estate. But the local real estate lobby and the local real estate industry think that's great because it's easy money. They can have the slackest, poorest quality management, poorest quality construction methods. They can be well below average in everything that they do, but still have huge supernormal profits. Similarly, the big construction companies have actually created a subcontracting system where they push off a lot of the work, a great deal of the work actually, onto small subcontractors, and the pricing is very tight pricing. These subcontractors in turn then they've got no other option but to employ brown and black slave type labor through scam labor hire firms to do the work, the construction work and so on. So again, this is a scenario where the problem has simply been moved around. The big profits are retained by the brand name construction firm, while they've pushed the actual costs and inconveniences and privations on small subcontractors, who in turn must have a vast supply of cheap, illiterate peasant, entry-level labor to do this work at the price that they need to deliver. So, and again, the working conditions of the worker have suffered. If it starts to rain, then everyone just gets laid off and not paid. Now you can't do that with the white workers. It's not their fault that it rains, so you still have to pay them for the day because they've turned up. But whereas these third world peasant labourers, through the labour hire scam firms, you send them home, they don't get paid. So these are issues that are feeding out into the wider Australian economy. They're creating inefficiency, they're creating laziness, they're creating sloth. But just as importantly, they're creating a decline in standards across the board, and we're all suffering as a consequence of that. So it's interesting to see this media outlet touching on this. They didn't go as far as I have in this video, but they are conceding that these lobbies are the ones driving mass migration. Now, mass migration, by the way, Australia's got a population of 26, 27 million, and yet we're taking in here 350 plus thousand people a year. So, close to 1.5% of the population are being added to every fucking year. Now, if there was we have to skill shortage. It's bullshit, absolute lies upon lies. There's no fucking skill shortage. Now, even with jobs where you'd be lucky to get 10 applicants, a couple of years ago, this is for skilled jobs, and that was considered good. 10 skilled applicants looking for work, and they all meet the criteria. So 10 is a lot when they all meet the criteria. And now that same sort of job advert gets put out, and they get 50 applications, again, all from people that could fill the job. There are other jobs where you'd be lucky to get 25, 30 applicants. Now you're getting 300 or 400 applicants. That's how drastically things have changed over the last couple of years. So the idea there's any sort of skills shortage is just beyond absurd, and it's an outrageous lie to even put it about. You've been a Tassos today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.